Thank you, Chair. Mr. Giroux, you testified earlier that over $21 billion is being spent by this government, or over $20 billion is being spent on contracting out. Of that, your estimate was that about 10%, over $2 billion, is being spent on management consulting, and you're not able to identify, based on the available figures, how much is being spent on middleman. We've tried to dig into this in other places, other committees. We've been able to identify that there are 635 staff augmentation firms, companies that they don't actually perform IT work. They're IT staff augmentation firms. They receive contracts and subcontract. The government was not able to provide information about numbers of employees at those companies. So, in how many cases were they, like GC Strategies, simply companies of 2 people or less? Do you have any work going on? Do you have any ability to identify across over 600 companies how much money we're talking, just in terms of paying? This is just IT work, paying middlemen for IT work, and there are likely many other cases where we're paying middlemen. Do you have any work going on, or any ability to see into how much money the government is spending on this contracting to contracting multi-layered process?
No, it's not something that we are currently looking at, and I think it would be more within the bailiwick of the Auditor General.
Okay. I think there is a need to understand these numbers, and we have asked the Auditor General to look in, for instance, at specific companies already. I do think that the budgeting piece here is important, getting to a sense of the costs that are being spent on that. Chair, with that in mind, and since it's all the rage today, I'm going to move a motion that, according to committee testimony, the Government of Canada uses 635 staff augmentation companies or IT companies that do not perform any actual IT work themselves, and the government does not even know how many of these companies have 2 employees or less, like ArriveCan Contractors, GC Strategies. The committee report to the House its request to the Parliamentary Budget Officer to complete a full report on the increased costs taxpayers pay due to the government using 635 staff augmentation companies, and that this report is completed by June 1st, 2024. I know we're close to time, so hopefully we can pass this motion quickly, Chair. I know it has now been distributed to all members in both official languages. I will just say this is one part of the picture. It's not the whole picture, but we see today the government is trying to create this narrative that any reductions in spending would be devastating to Canadians who rely on government services. But that's clearly not the case, based on how much this government is spending on contracting. 635 companies that are IT middlemen alone for the federal government. Enormous amounts of money are being spent on contracting out and contracting to subcontract. So we would like to invite the work of the Parliamentary Budget Officer on this, and I hope this motion will have the support of my colleagues. Thank you.
Thanks. Mrs. Vignola.
Thank you very much, Chair. Very quickly now, I do need some information from my colleague here and from the government. There is the sentence that the committee report to the House its request to the Parliamentary Budget Officer. Why do we report to the House of Commons? It seems to me we make a request, we await the report from the PBO, and then the House gives its position with respect to the PBO's report that we requested. I would ask that be changed, because I don't see that it is really reflecting the interest that is necessary. So quite simply, that is what is of concern to me.
We don't require that to ask for a report be done. Are you putting forward an amendment then to the motion? Or are you just asking Mr. Genuis to chime in on it?
Well, yeah, perhaps there's some rationale behind that I don't understand. But if there is no rationale. I'd just like it to be taken out, the words that I quoted.
Well, we'll leave it for now, and then you can put forward an amendment if necessary. I see Mr. Genuis. Perhaps you'll address that. Then I have Ms. Atwin.
Yeah, Chair, thank you, Ms. Ignola, for the question. And just to clarify that is that when in the past when this committee has made requests, other committees have made requests. The reason to refer to the House is just because it provides an opportunity for the House to pronounce on the matter, which gives added weight to it. This is what we've seen, for instance, in the case of Auditor General reports, and that's the function of the committee. Report to the House. The House can pronounce themselves on the matter, and then that allows the recommendation to carry that extra weight.
Ms. Atwin? And then Mr. Kuzmirchuk.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just looking at the time, I would move to adjourn.
Okay.
Point of order, Chair. Can we just not get
Well,
this
it's
finished?
a dilatory motion. So are you adjourning are you looking to adjourn the debate on the motion, or are you looking to adjourn the meeting?
Adjourn the meeting.
Point of order, Chair. Can you just clarify that we would have resources to continue if members wanted to continue to finish this discussion?
Okay, we have to get to the vote, but we do have resources to continue, but
Thank
we'll
you.
have to get to the
Liberals are
vote, as
shutting
you
it
are aware.
Mr. Jahowri.
Support.
Mr. Baines.
Support.
Mr. Sousa.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzmirchuk.
Support.
Ms. Atwin.
Support.
Ms. Kusi.
Against.
Ms. Block.
Against.
Mr. Genuis.
No.
Madame Vignola.
No.
Mr. Backrack.
Opposed.
5 yeas, 5 nays.
I oppose as well. We'll be back to the debate. Mr. Kuzmirchuk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I honestly, there's two issues that I have fundamentally with this motion that's put forward. So, in essence, what we're asking the PBO to look at and utilize their scarce resources of the PBO and their office to focus on studying what is in essence a staffing agencies. And staffing agencies are it's a $10 billion it is a $10 billion sector here in Canada. There's literally hundreds of companies that secure resources, that secure assets, that their purpose, the folks that actually own these businesses, they don't actually do the work themselves, but they do recruit and assemble teams of folks that actually do work. That's their purpose. We see that in the IT sector, but we certainly see that in the healthcare sector with agency nursing. It's something that we see actually growing in usage really across the country. So I think we've missed a step here before asking the PBO to spend its resources on this particular study. I think it'd be more appropriate if we wanted to look at staffing agencies and the use of staffing agencies, that should become a part of the witnesses that we bring forward here to committee first, to study that first and to get testimony from the staffing agencies, from the people that hire the staffing agencies, from outside commentators who have been following this issue to talk about what are the pros and cons of utilizing staffing agencies. And so, again, I don't think that I believe that there is merit in looking at this issue, but I believe that the proper venue for that is the committee first before we task the PBO for looking at this. And then the second issue that I have, I noticed the steady pattern of actually reporting what we're doing here directly to the House of Commons, and I do understand that the Conservatives have their one purpose is to slow down the work of the House of Commons and the work on delivering programs that are needed, whether it's dental care, whether it's child care, whether it's fighting climate change, whether it's debates in the House on making investments like the ones in my hometown of Windsor that brought a battery plant and 2,500 jobs. And so we know that the Conservatives consider it a win every single time that they spend time, the time of members of Parliament in the House on these motions like this one here. I mean, that is sort of their intent and their purpose. And so again, I would ask our colleagues, if we want to look at this issue, before we spend time in the House and before we spend time of the PBO on this particular issue, why don't we bring witnesses to committee to actually have the conversation on this venue, at this venue, and I think this is the place to begin, as opposed to, again, asking the PBO to look at staffing agencies, which is again a commonplace industry and sector here across Canada.
Thank you. I have Mr. Jouari.
Yeah, thank you,
And I'm
Mr.
going
Chair.
to, sorry, before we continue, we have resources to 1:15, so.
Thank you. I'll be short. Since this is a task that we are asking PBO to take on, I have two questions. Do they have the bandwidth? Is it a priority? And can it be done by June 1st, 2024? I personally like to remove the deadline. I completely trust the PBO office and the staff to be able to do a very comprehensive job on that. I like to leave the priority up to them, and I like to remove the fact that we are reporting to the House. So as such, I'm moving the motion to remove the date of June 1st, 2024, as well as remove the reporting to the House, and leave it up to the PBO. And I actually like to hear from PBO whether this is something that that they would be not that they would be able to do, but is it like, what does it take for them to be able to do something like this?
We really can't request of the witnesses if we're debating a motion, but we have a amendment put forward. Colleagues, yes, we can ask afterwards. Colleagues, can we agree to the amendment put forward to Mr. Jouari, which is basically remove as it is, keep it as it is, change the date, because obviously the PBO has to work in their other studies, and then also report the House. Ms. Jouari, then Mr. Genuis, and be brief. Please. Oh, Mrs. Vignola, sorry, not Mr. Jouari.
Merci.
I just want to suggest I would like to suggest an amendment, a further amendment with respect to my colleague. Given what I said earlier, I would withdraw the aspect about the committee reporting to the House and the date of June 1st, 2024. We've never set a date for the PBO, and we've always received our reports very quickly from the Parliamentary Budget Officer. This is what I would propose if my colleague agrees.
Mr. Jouari has put through an amendment already suggesting removing the date, and so we're debating Mr. Jouari's amendment, which you seem to agree with. Mr. Genuis.
Yeah, Chair, we don't agree with the amendment, but we're happy to move forward. So if there's agreement of the committee to adopt the amendment and the main motion on division, then we can proceed. Then we're done.
Wonderful. Can we agree on division for the amendment? And just to be clear, removing the date so the PBO will set with their other work, and we're removing report to the House.
Yes.
Perfect. Amendment is adopted. Now back to the amended motion. Yes, I know, but I still have to go through the. We're fine on division? Wonderful. Before we break, we have like 30 seconds. I want to get to the sub-Cs. Just very briefly, if I have unanimous consent to call all the votes together.
Yes.
On division, shall I report the votes on the supplementary estimate C 2023-2024 to the House? Yes. Wonderful. Mr. Giroux, Ms. Van der Wees, and Ms. Giswell, thank you again for joining us. Sorry to keep you a bit late. It is always our pleasure to have you. Thanks very much. And I appreciate the fact you were you consumed only a tiny part of the allotted water, because we are trying to save money here for the Canadian taxpayer. We are adjourned.